Hi, what's up? I'm David, and in today's video I want to show you exactly how I create overviews for our clients, and don't miss a thing even with 100 plus flows or 100 plus metrics. This is not specifically for big brands, but also for big brands. So yeah, if you are a rather small brand, then don't worry, you can also take away something from this. It's just a lot easier if you are a smaller brand, and if you are a bigger brand, which is the brand that I will show you in this example, that has like 100 plus flows, 100 plus metrics. That's going to be a little bit more complicated, but yeah, just lean back and enjoy the ride. So usually the things that I look into when I create an overview of an account is pretty much everything. But first and foremost, like the pop-ups, email designs, metrics, flows, campaigns. And yeah, I check if the offer is consistent. I check if the billing is too high or too low. If we are paying for, I don't know, some apps that we don't need and stuff like that. So yeah, there are 1,000 things that I actually look into. And today I want to show you the entire process. So yeah, this is, wait, let me show you. This is our playground today, so we have a little bit to do. I will obviously not walk you through every single thing in here. I also had to blur a lot of stuff. Yeah, just to kind of like make this a little bit shorter, because otherwise this would probably take a few hours to record. But yeah, what I want to show you is kind of like how I do the visual overview, how I do kind of like the number overview, the reasoning behind my logics, and I will also do like a live example afterwards. So yeah, what this is all about is basically just seeing visually. I mean, I'm personally a very visual person. If you're not, then yeah, maybe this isn't even for you. But most of the brands out there that I see at least have this mapped out for themselves. So I will just show you kind of like how to get an overview over all of your pop-ups, all of your designs, all of your flows and stuff like that. Because as I said, like after some time you will actually yeah, lose the overview over everything. And yeah, I would just say let's just jump right into the first example. And yeah, what I basically do first when I go into an account, just to kind of like show you what this is all about. So first things first, I usually look at the pop-up. Pop-ups are my favorite. You might have seen some of my LinkedIn posts in the past already. I do a lot of pop-up posting actually, and we pretty much always have sign-up rates of like 16+%. So I really love pop-ups, and I just look into the captions right away and I add them here. So for example, what you can see with this brand is that I just went in there and I screenshotted all of their different signups. So for example, they had this SMS signup, welcome, welcome mobile, welcome desktop, SMS acquisition. These were renamed afterwards. So this is actually an extraction of what I did in the account, but these were named differently in the beginning. But yeah, right now I just renamed them. So yeah, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different captchas, which is quite a lot. If you think about that, most brands actually only have like 2, which is 1 embed and 1 pop-up. So there, for example, was something I noticed right away. So usually I just have I just have the 3 different screenshots, like the sign up page, then the if you have the double opt-in directly in the pop-up, the opt-in page, and then also the final page. So I add all of those here, so I can see, okay, we have 20% off here, then everything is fine here, blah blah blah, all good. Get 20% off, congrats, all good. But then all of a sudden, for the SMS embed, I noticed that there was 30% off. So this actually didn't align with the previous offers. This also sent to the exact same email list as this one. So yeah, that was actually a problem, and people actually received the wrong codes. So there was something that we realized just by looking into these screenshots, which is actually pretty weird if you think about it. Just like screenshotting stuff and putting it onto the table or like one big vision board, that already helps a lot, at least for me. Then yeah, I also noticed that the birthday The birthday flow, or not the birthday flow, but the birthday pop-up didn't even have a birthday flow attached to it, or at least it didn't really send properly. So this was a little bit odd, because I had to check the behavior of the connected flow, which was not existent. So we actually collected this for pretty much no reason, and it's just something that you see when you kind of like lay this out all together, but you don't see this in your day-to-day business, because it's just like so crowded. You have to do so many different things, and it's just a lot easier to do it like this. So yeah, then basically what I do is, as I said, like the capture in here, the overview of the capture, the different screenshots, the list it's sending to, and then also the flows that are connected to it. So that's kind of like what I do with the captures, to see, okay, like, is everything actually also going to the right list? Is it going to the right flow? Is the flow actually working? And stuff like that. And then I actually pulled up a different example from a different brand, but I will also show this to you in a second. Because what I also do a lot is, when I go into accounts, I create a flow overview. This is also what this is all about. Like, this is all a flow overview. And essentially, what I had in here with this brand was that we had about like 100 flows. So 41 were live, 3 were manual, and 61 were on draft. Before I jump into this, though, I wanted to show you kind of like a live example, so that you understand exactly what's going on here before I jump into it. So let's just say, for example, oh wait, let me blur this real quick, 1 second. Okay, I just hope I didn't spoil anything here. But so when we look at this account, for example, you can see that there are a lot of different flows in here. So we can actually see, for example, we have this one, all of these are live, these ones are draft, there's some manual ones in here. And what I like to do is, in the beginning, I just screenshot all of the flows and add them to Figma, kind of like I did it in here. I also sorted them by revenue. You can't see it right now, but they actually were sorted by revenue. And then I also screenshotted all of the metrics. So when I do this, I basically want to get an overview of which flows are in the account right now, which ones are live, draft, manual, and which metrics are they actually tied to. So I mean, obviously there are also some lists or segments that are not in here, because these are metrics and not lists or segments. So for example, the welcome flow, if it's being triggered by a list, this won't show up in here. But what I just want to get is like a rough overview and connecting the dots between all of those. So what that would look like essentially is in the beginning, I would have it like this then. So for example, I have all of the live flows and I have all of the draft flows. And then for example, I look at active on site, which is one of the metrics in here. And I just drag a line from here to there. So initially I have this huge ass list. Then I have these metrics, and then I just connect the lines from here to here. And then for example, from here to here, blah, 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 blah. And what that looks like in the end is this here, for example. So for example, I have active on site and added to cart, and then I can see, okay, green, which color did I use here? Active on site to the red one. So we have this site abandonment flow here, which is being triggered by the active on site. So this actually goes down here. Then I can also see, okay, the blue ones are added to cart. So these are actually going up here. Viewed product, there's no flow in here that actually has a viewed product. So this already tells me, okay, all of the green ones are already existing, and all of the red ones are open for grabs essentially. So the ones that are not red or green are actually the ones that we don't use at all. So for example, confirmed shipment by Shopify, we don't really need that. Marked out for delivery, also we don't really need that. Or placed order with the Amos trigger, we also don't really need that. So those are pretty much the flows that we didn't really focus on here. But for example, the added to cart, like there's no way that we won't use that. And also the viewed product, like there's no way that we won't set up an abandoned a browser abandonment flow, which is triggered by the viewed product. So yeah, this is kind of like the overview I'm initially creating. And if there are some lists that are triggering some specific flows, I could, for example, say, hey, there are like a couple of flows in here, and yeah, these are all being triggered by a specific list. But this is also something that you know at that point, or you can also create a screenshot of your list, obviously, instead of the metric or in addition to the metrics. And yeah, that's kind of like how I do it. I hope that's understandable. I always just like do this my way, so it's a little bit hard to kind of like convey that information, but I hope that's understandable. Now, when there are multiple flows for the same thing, which is more often than you might actually think, I also like to just merge stuff. So, for example, if we have like an abandoned checkout here, started checkout, and here also abandoned checkout. One is for example, like product 1, and one is for product 2. You don't really need that. You can pretty much do everything through like trigger splits and stuff like that, or even conditional splits. So yeah, I always let everything run through one flow if it's one trigger, unless it's like something really, really specific that can't be done, but there's usually nothing that can't be done. So for example, in this scenario, we had this abandoned checkout and this abandoned checkout. We merged them together to create one abandoned checkout, and there's only 2 right here because we also have a different abandoned checkout trigger. So it's actually just this one merged to this one, and this is a duplicate. Yeah, it only says delete because I wanted to merge it. And this was still the old version. But then you can see, for example, yeah, I added this new photo of the new flow in here as well. And yeah, so that's kind of like how that works regarding the flows. And yeah, so did I miss anything? Okay, you screenshotted it, added everything to Figma, screenshot of the metrics, then sorted by revenue. That's also something that I usually look at. Because then I can already see, okay, like what is actually making us money and what should I focus on. So for example, if I see, like I sorted by revenue, and the first flow is, for example, the welcome flow, and the last edit has been made in 2022, that's pretty much always a bad sign because things have changed since 2022. And then I would also look a little bit deeper into that because it's obviously the flow that makes most of the revenue, but I would also not look at the ones that are making less revenue because maybe they are just not optimized. But usually what I look at are the ones that make the most money because maybe there's a reason because they make the most money. Then I also sort by the status. Live is the most important, obviously. Draft to manual. And yes, then I also check the triggers with Amos, with the Amos Agents tool, because maybe there's an integration wrong or broken. If you haven't used Amos Agents, you can just let me know and I will give you free access to it. But essentially what we're checking is, for example, there are some live flows in here. I don't think I have them on the screenshot right here, but it will actually tell us exactly which ones are on, which means which ones are live, and the trigger is actually failing. So for example, in this scenario, we saw that loop order tracking updated. These 3 different flows were off because the loop order tracking software actually didn't get any data. And then it actually turned out that that there was an issue with the connection between Klaviyo and Loop, the app, and they were paying like a couple $100 for Loop every month. So yeah, that's actually something where it's pretty obvious, you know, like you can just delete that. You can delete that, or I mean, you can delete Loop at that point because you're just like overspending, or you can just fix the thing and actually get what you're paying for. But yeah, these things are just such easy fixes. But if you're in an account that has like 100 different flows that are live, or in this other scenario where we had like 41 flows live, I want to see you sitting there and going through each and every flow and checking if the trigger is working, because I've been that person for a really, really long time. I mean, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and it's really draining, especially if you have done that for like 10 hours straight that day already. So yeah, I can only recommend you download that Chrome extension, see what it does for you, and then yeah, if it's useful, keep it. If not, then uninstall it. Anyways, so on to the next one. What I always like to do is create an overview. Obviously, with this setup also came a master template. So we created a master template for this brand. And what we always like to do is to look into the email design, obviously, and kind of like change the different parts in there that need to be changed, because previously their emails looked pretty bad. I will show you that in a second. But yeah, this was just like an overview where we had our core colors, which is actually pretty simple. And then yeah, we created a core template with a header with different announcement bars. I mean, then the header image, different call to actions, and then also product sections, category sections, spotlights and stuff like that. So we also have this in a course that I have in the school community. So if you want to check that out, feel free, because it's also free actually, and we have a couple of Canva templates in there. This is obviously built in Figma, but we have these exact ones also in there. So if you're struggling to build emails like this, then you can also just use those Canva templates. But yeah, in terms of this overview, or how this serves in the overview, I will show you in a second. Because, and this is kind of like what I wanted to build up to all this time. We had this client where we had more than 100 flows and more than 100 metrics. And what I did here specifically, even on top of what you just saw me do over here with the categorization, after this, I just split everything up and make it a lot more, like a lot cleaner essentially. And what I do here, for example, these are all the flows, also with duplicates. So for example, if a welcome series was set up twice, I would actually merge them and say, for example, like the email welcome series and the SMS welcome series, which actually both were sending to the same list, could be merged. And yeah, then we could also, for example, have this SMS be deleted essentially, because we don't have to send to a separate list there. Yeah, so it's actually pretty straightforward if you think about it, like in a way of like you already categorize everything by what works with which trigger. But if you actually boil that down and actually say, okay, these are welcome series, these are abandonment automations and stuff like that, and actually also create an overview visually, then yeah, that just gives me a lot more clarity. And that's also where the master template comes in, because we list out the current version and then also share an overview of the new version. So I actually, for this example, I had to blur out a lot of stuff. I also took out a lot of email designs, so it's not 100% complete, but I just want to kind of like convey the principle behind everything. So for example, let's just go into this one. I'm adding the overviews in here, so that I can just see how much revenue we're currently making with that flow, which two flows there are, and that they are, for example, triggered by the same list. So added to email subscribers, and then also here. And then I'm also screenshotting each and every email in there. And then also if it's an SMS, I also screenshot it in here, so that I really get an overview. Because if you are working in a new account, completely new, and you haven't set up anything, like, it's so valuable. Even if you have set up everything and it's all yours, like, it's so valuable to have an overview like this and to kind of like see, hey, this is really going on in my account. Because if you just change one thing, if you just change one thing here and there, um, it might affect pretty much everything in the account, and people will get frustrated over time, similar to what you saw previously or earlier in the with the captchas with the pop-up. So for example, if you just say, hey, we want to try like 30% in this pop-up here, then you might forget about like the 20% you gave somewhere else, and then all of a sudden you are either giving too much or too little to somebody. So yeah, let me quickly close my ClickUp here for a second. Yes, so anyway, this is kind of like how I point this out. So you can see these different emails, SMS, and that's all good. And then you can also see, obviously, these are still the older designs, but yeah, I just didn't want to put in everything that we actually did at the end of the day. And we also changed, for example, the layout of the flow. So you can actually see like this was a really short flow. Now it's really like kind of mapped out in here. And then we also added the new SMS, new emails and stuff like that. And that's what I really do for pretty much everything. Yeah, and then at the end of the day, we also sit down to kind of like have some obviously new designs in here. Then I can say, for example, hey, this is this design has been done. Then I put this into red, into green. We have this in ClickUp usually. I can also show that to you if you're interested in it. Just like send me a DM or comment somewhere. But this is just something that we have in Figma. We didn't really like change it over time. But yeah, we don't really use this anymore in here. But once the design is ready, we obviously kind of like want to check that box off as well. And then, yeah, what else do I want to say? Down here, I hope everything is blurred correctly. I'm a little bit scared, to be honest, to walk you through this. But yeah, anyway. There's also something that I sometimes do, which is already covered by the previous things that I did, that I showed you. I don't know why this shows up, sorry. But this was already covered by the previous things that I showed you, which is kind of like the life cycle or the funnel of your email marketing. So for example, somebody visits your site, they view a product, they add something to their cart, they start a checkout, and they place an order. Like that's pretty much everything that somebody can do on that end. And then, yeah, so what I then usually do is just like I see that there's no site abandonment as we previously saw, and I would then add like a red button in here where I'm saying like, hey, the site abandonment flow is missing. Or here, for example, combine these flows, these two flows, because they are both based on the viewed product. So for example, in this case, like I don't want to go too deep into strategy, but email and SMS can easily be both in one flow. There's no way to do, like, there's no reason whatsoever to do it in two separate flows. Makes no sense. But yeah, so that's just like a different way of putting it. I just like to kind of like have it in this flow as well, in addition to what we already did here. And then what else? Then we also, I mean, at this point we already have a pretty good overview, right? Like we have the captchas over here. We know exactly which metrics are being used, which triggers are working, which flows are being used, which ones are not being used, which ones are creating revenue, which ones are not creating revenue. We have the email design, the master template that we always want to use and just modify from time to time. Then we also have like a visual overview. We know exactly what's currently in there. We know exactly what's going to be in there. We know the old setup. We know the new setup in case we want to create a new setup. So yeah, this is already like a lot in here. But then we also looked at the billing, for example, with this brand specifically, and they had really high Klaviyo costs. So as you can see down here, for example, in August they paid like $7,000, and then in September they paid $8,000, and then another $8,500, $8,500. And prior to this, because this was in July 2024, we actually signed with them in, I think, January 2024. And the thing was actually that they were paying 14 grand before, and we just kept on lowering the plan by removing more and more people, and the revenue didn't drop. So it was actually like, okay, we removed so many people already from the list. Like from one day to another, I basically convinced them to just like delete half of the list. And for some reason, we didn't even lose any of our revenue. So not just revenue, but also obviously the profit. And the thing is, I told them, if we can save 50% on costs and lose less than 20% in sales, we're more profitable. Because the thing is, at that point in time, we were, I think this was actually a time where we were kind of like or we were, just in front of a crisis. At this point in time, we didn't even know that we were going to get into some legal stuff. But it's actually something where we had to consider lowering the Klaviyo cost because it just wasn't profitable at that point in time. So this is also stuff that just a lot of people don't think about. They just keep getting more and more people onto their list. They pay so much for their list. But then just having this net expense is really, really hurtful or harmful, especially if you don't have such a high profit margin. So for example, I don't know, if you're a clothing brand and your profit is like 30%, and you're really struggling to even get like these 8.5 grand in net profit in, that's pretty tough. So it's sometimes easier to just kind of like lower that for a couple of months, even if you have to kind of like suppress people or download them into a list. Just lowball it for a few months, just be like under the radar, and then kind of like reappear. Than it is to kind of like keep them over the time, just to push the ego and say we have a big list. But yeah, I don't even want to go too deep into strategy. I just wanted to mention that we also look into billing and have this pointed out in here. And then, last but not least, we also have campaigns. So, for example, this is nothing that I'm too deep into. That's actually something that Jule does. So, if you want to know more about campaigns and stuff like that, that's definitely something for Jule. She's called Juliane Schlüter. In case you want to ask her, just add her or DM her. She's our designer, or she's doing most of our designs, and she's amazing with this. And this is just an overview from one brand where we basically pointed out or like laid out all of the different campaigns that we're sending. So this, for example, is just like from this is May, June, July, August, then September, and so we are slowly going into October right now. So the master template is over here. So we actually kind of like, I don't want to zoom too much into this. I also purposefully picked stuff from different brands so that you can't like check out everything from one brand. But so this is basically like she takes this this core template, copies it over, changes the stuff in it, adds new graphics, does this, and this. But she always has like this initial master template that I also showed you previously that you can also copy for free from my course. So this is kind of like how we do that with the campaigns, all just like next to each other. And strategy wise, you will still get something, I think, in next week or the week after that for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But I can only recommend for this week, because next week is going to next week the next thing drops. But I can only recommend you to sit down for like an hour or two, however long you're taking, or this takes you, depending obviously also on your brand size, and create an overview like this for you. Like this is so invaluable, and it will also help you so much with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because essentially what you can do as well is, for example, say, hey, these are our pop-ups at the moment. These are like 3 different pop-up variations that we want to test for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and having them all visually next to each other, knowing exactly when something goes live, and making sure that also all flows and all discounts and stuff like that all are congruent. That makes so much sense, and there's pretty much no better way to improve your email marketing than to have an overview like this. Because if you don't know what needs to be changed, you won't change the right things. And you might end up as similar to our client here, who had a 30% discount code running into the same list as the 20% discount code for like a good year or two. And that's just like the smallest problem, obviously, in here. There were like 1,000 different things, merging of lists, like deleting of lists and stuff like that, and obviously also of the flows and the not only the flows. And so I hope this was somehow teaching you something. I hope this was helpful. And yeah, if it was, let me know. If it wasn't, let me know as well. I would love to improve and to kind of like show you more of this if you need. And just DM me, leave a comment or whatever. And that said, I wish you an amazing day, an amazing Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and also a great Christmas season. Have a nice one.